Welcome to Birth Wisdom Prenatal Vinyasa Yoga class. This is a Vinyasa style prenatal class, so you will get your Vinyasa flow in as well as modifications for all of the poses to keep you and your baby safe. If this is your first prenatal yoga class, maybe give yourself permission to do 50 or 65% of the class, and then also listen to what feels good in your body. Sometimes a pose that you might have practiced last week won't feel good the following week. So know that you can come out and come into child's pose or resting on your left or right side and just come into your breath. Another thing is to remember, if this is your first class, be sure you've been cleared by your OBGYN or your midwife that practicing prenatal yoga is safe for you and your baby. So in Birth Wisdom yoga classes, we start every class with a meditation. And we get to start lying down on your left or right side. I'm going to show you where you can lay on with your blankets, and then I'm going to come back up to guide you through the meditation, but you can stay laying down the whole time. So getting a couple of pillows or blankets will work from your home, and coming down onto your side. So if you're always laying on your side, on your left side when you're sleeping, it's okay to come onto your right side here. And then placing a blanket between your knees and maybe even underneath your head or between your ankles or whatever feels good for you. And then just beginning to settle in here. And then see if you can begin to release your mind as you come into your breath. So allowing your inhale to reach all the way up through the crown of your head. And then your exhale to move down around your baby and all the way out your toes. So you're beginning to find a slow, gentle rhythm with your breath. And then with each exhale, you're beginning to release your mind and release the thoughts. And just remembering that we never control the mind in meditation. We're simply practicing releasing the thoughts with each exhale and then returning to the breath again and again and using the breath to stay right here on your mat. So just settling in here, softening your jaw, allowing your shoulders to melt down, releasing your fingertips and your toes. Just feeling the edges of your body beginning to soften and melt away as the breath drops you down deeper into your body here. And really noticing your exhale. And if you can, even maybe opening up and sighing out that breath, letting it come all the way down and all the way out your toes. And just beginning to practice picturing the beautiful bright light surrounding your entire body, so your energy field. It's a vibrant golden light surrounding you in love and protection, attracting abundance and health. And see that beautiful golden light completely surrounding your baby. And just breathe here, picturing your baby so peaceful and so content. and knowing everything you and your baby needs for labor and childbirth is right here inside of you. And taking a deep inhale and open up, sigh out your exhale. And then slowly and gently we'll be meeting back at hands and knees. And taking your time, you're going to place a blanket underneath your knees so that it just feels good as we're practicing our postures on hands and knees. And then meeting in child's pose, taking the knees wide. If you need more space, taking a block under your forehead and then just walking the hands forward. And then remembering if your sciatica is sore, you can take the knees a little bit narrower as well. And then come on down. And come into the breath, deep inhale. And deep exhale. And let's take 4 more right here, long and slow. And inhaling deep. And with your breath moving to hands and knees. And we're setting up for thread the needle pose. So pressing down into your mat with your left hand, fingers are wide. Reach up with the right hand, and then with your breath, you're coming all the way down, settling in onto the right cheek. Maybe take the knees back a couple of inches, and if this feels too deep, just bring your forearm in front of your head and take it here. So just move and adjust where it feels good for you. If you want it to be deeper, just walk that left hand forward and breathe here. And deep inhale. And with the breath, hands and knees, and getting up for the other side. So let's take a cleansing breath here before we move. Inhale deep. And open up. Nice. Press the right hand down, reach up with the left. And then again, take it down. Now notice this side might feel really different, so just adjust where it feels good for you. Remembering you can bring the forearm in front and reach forward with the right hand. And you can also come into a seated position and just find your breath at any time if the pose we're in is not what you need today. And inhale deep. And then with your exhale, hands and knees. And we're sitting all the way down into hero's pose, coming into your modification for camel pose. So hands will come behind you, pressing down. You can stay right here and take the stretch in your shoulders. If you want more, you can take the hips up to the sky, drop your head back, or tuck your chin. Really listen to what feels good here in your neck. If you have toddlers at home, it might feel amazing here, so you do have time for 5 or 6 breaths. If you feel really tight in your shoulders, then you can come back down into child's pose and rest there. Wherever you are, stay with the breath completely. And we're just taking the spine the opposite direction, coming all the way down. Finding the breath completely again here. Inhaling deep. And with the breath coming to hands and knees. So we're setting up for camel pose, and it's important to remember that you don't have to stack the hands right under the shoulders here. You have almost twice the amount of fluid in your body when you're pregnant. So your wrists might feel really tight. So just walk the hands forward a little bit where it feels good. Take the fingers wide, and then you're pressing down into this triad part of your hand. So you're actually getting out of the wrist a bit and more into the muscles of your hands. You can also come onto your fist at any time that we're here. Another thing you can do is roll up your mat and then take the palm of your hand or the base of the palm of your hand here, and that'll take you out of your wrist as well if they feel too tight. So coming into cow pose, once you find where it feels good, knees are about hip width apart. Inhaling, taking your chin up to the sky. And with your exhale, arching your back, dropping your head all the way down. And then just alternating with your breath. So you're inhaling for cow. You're exhaling for cat. Press into the hands, drop the head. And then maybe allow the eyes to shut down. Just take the breath deep inside here. And feeling that opening in your spine and breathing into that feeling. And setting up for pelvic circles, taking the knees a little bit wider, walk the hands forward to create space. And then you're taking some nice big slow circles, coming all the way forward into a figure eight, getting into the hips, the lower back, and still breathing here. So taking that breath all the way up through the crown of your head, and then all the way down, all the way out your toes. So this entire hands and knees sequence really helps ensure that your baby's in an optimal position for labor and childbirth. And it just feels good for any stage of labor. So it's good to practice this every day, even just for 5 minutes, so that it's there for you when you are in early labor or active labor. And then coming back to center to hands and knees, and we're setting up for downward facing dog. So from here, go ahead and take the fingers nice and wide, press into the hands. You're arching your back into cat pose, curling the toes, and then taking the hips up to the sky and just walking it out here. So just taking 3 breaths, maybe bend the left knee and then the right. Dropping your head down, maybe shake it out just easy, nice and soft, yes and no. And then taking a deep inhale, bend the knees a lot, and we're walking the hands back to the feet to stand up. And coming into mountain pose. And we're taking our feet wide to create space and stability. And then a micro bend in your knees. And then notice where you're standing, if you're tucking the pelvis or if you're really arching the back, and then picture your tailbone right on top of your heels as you press down into your heels. Then from here, go ahead and inhale, reach up. Take the left wrist up and over to the right. And then coming back to center, pressing into the heels. And then take it over to the other side. And just alternating with your breath, so take your time. Release the exhale completely. then after your left side, we'll meet back at center. And then pressing down into your feet, rooting down, inhale, reach up, palms come together, and draw them into your heart. Inhaling trust in your body, and then bringing that into your heart completely here. And inhaling trust in birth, and then draw that in as well. And one more deep inhale, reach up. And we're taking the feet nice and wide here, bending the knees a lot, coming forward. And then with your breath, coming up to a halfway lift. And then coming all the way down back to your mat, coming into child's pose or a seated position, getting grounded one more time. So deep inhale here. And let it go, deep exhale. 3 more breaths, long and slow. And inhale deep. And with the breath, hands and knees. So we're setting up for some low lunges, which really help with sciatica pain or lower back pain. Taking both hands towards the left side of your mat, fingers are wide for stability, stepping the right foot forward. And from here, you can take the right foot towards the edge of your mat and even scoot your left knee back. So see where it feels good. And just start with some nice rocking and rolling, getting into the left side and the right side. And still staying with your breath right here. So using the breath to stay right here in this moment on your mat and to really listen to what feels good in your body. There's really nothing more powerful than that in labor and childbirth, is to know what you need and to do it. So it might feel good to come up out of that left leg here, but you're only coming here if this feels good to stretch a little bit deeper. There's no benefit to the pose if it's not feeling good in your body. And let's come on down and change sides. So finding stability first, press into the hands and then take the left foot forward. And just notice this side might be a lot tighter, so adjust where you need to. I'm coming onto my fists because it feels good. We spend so much time in yoga on our hands, so I kind of alternate here and there. And I'm sure you'll feel that too. Stay with your breath. Remember, you can always come out of that right knee. You're pressing through the heel here if it feels good. And then coming back to center to hands and knees. And we are setting up for warrior one on the right side. So thumbs come together, fingers are wide, pressing down in the center of your mat. So this creates space. So as you step forward, your knee doesn't hit your baby. And we're finding stability. So take your time, pressing down into the left side. And then come on up. And as your baby grows, you're going to take your feet wider and then maybe even closer together, and that'll give you more stability as well. So from here, just squaring from the rib cage forward, and looking back at your left foot, it's on about a 65-degree angle, facing forward, press down into the left heel, and then reach up out of that left thigh and breathe. And then let's move a little bit of energy. Inhale, reach up. And with the breath, let everything go. Straighten that right leg. And let's do 3 more. Inhale, take it up to the sky. And then let it go. And one more deep breath. Reach up. And then we're flowing down to your mat. So right hand to right thigh, left hand and knee, come on down, take your time. And then you're coming into chaturanga. So you have different choices here. We won't come into up dog or low cobra because we're protecting the abs so we don't create a diastasis, which would separate the muscles here. We're going to come into either mini push-ups, which will look like this. You're coming down, elbows are close to your body, taking it nice and slow. You can do 5 or 6 of these. You can come into child's pose. Or maybe even pelvic circles or lunges, whatever feels good for you here. So we have about 4 more breaths. And so you decide. And maybe you do just a little bit of everything. Just giving yourself time to rest if you need to rest. If you're feeling strong, taking it a little bit deeper. And then meeting back at hands and knees, coming into warrior one on the left side. Thumbs are together. We're stepping the left foot forward. And find your feet here. Find stability. Just pressing down into that right heel. And then squaring from the rib cage forward, come into the breath. Notice the shoulders are soft and fingers are strong, reaching up. And feel the strength in your legs here. And then let's move some energy. Inhale, reach it up. And with the breath, let it go. Two more. And then reaching all the way up. And then flowing down to your mat, left hand, left thigh, right hand and knee will come on down. And then remember, it's your choice here. So maybe child's pose this time, coming into the breath. Or maybe mini push-ups, or maybe just seated and breathing. So you have about 5 more breaths here. You decide what feels good. And remember, you can come into low lunges or mini push-ups as well. Just really listening to what you need here. And staying with your breath completely. You have about 3 more breaths here. And then we'll meet back at center, hands and knees. And now we're setting up for warrior 2, and I'm actually going to turn around. There we go. Warrior 2 on the right side. So now thumbs are together in the center of your mat, and you're stepping the right foot forward, pressing down into the left foot. The toes of the left foot face the left side of your mat. You come on up. And now your hips and shoulders are facing the left side. And then still pressing down into that back heel, reach up out of the thigh, take the right hand forward, the left hand back, and come into your breath here. Notice if you're kicking that left hip back and just bring it back to center and find your breath. So your feet should feel pretty strong, like you're about to split your mat right in half. And then also remembering to feel that strength here. You'll never have more strength than you will on the day that you birth your baby, so know that and feel it here. And if it feels good, go ahead and rock the elbows with the breath. We're just opening up the rib cage here a little bit more. Sometimes it helps wiggle fingers or elbows or knees out of the rib cage if you're getting sore there, so you can do this at home too. And stay with your breath. And then coming back to center. Inhale, reach it forward, and then with the exhale, reverse it. Left hand down, right hand to the sky, and breathe. And you can walk the left hand towards the right hip if that feels good. Just opening up the left shoulder a little bit more. Releasing the left hand, reach up with the right hand, and then we are flowing down to your mat. So right hand, right thigh, hands and knees, take your time. And then finding whatever chaturanga feels good for you here. Remembering you can also come back to cow and cat. Opening up the lower back. Or pelvic circles. Or your mini push-ups, or even just seated and drinking your water, especially if this is your first class. And you have about 3 more breaths. And then we're meeting back at hands and knees and setting up for warrior 2 on the left side. Thumbs are together, stepping the left foot forward. Finding stability, so press into the right side, the right toes are facing the right side of your mat, and come on up. And you can look at where your heel is on your left foot. It's usually, we want to see it in line with your right arch, but then adjusting also where it feels good in your body. So from here, notice if you're pressing that hip out and bring it back to center. And then notice if the shoulders are high and just bring them down. Maybe reach through the fingertips forward and back and open up the shoulder blades and breathe. You can also rock the elbows to the sky. And you might just need stillness here, so you decide. And inhale, reach it forward. And then with the breath, we're finding reverse warrior, left hand to the sky, right hand down. If you want to take it a little deeper in the right shoulder, you'll reach forward with the right hand and breathe here. And it might feel good to look up, but if your neck is tight, you can also look down. So releasing the right hand, reach up. And then we are flowing down to your mat. Left hand, left thigh, hands and knees. And then this is your last chaturanga, so really get whatever you need here. Staying with your breath. Remembering if you're coming into mini push-ups that you want to make sure the elbows aren't here. I see that sometimes in classes, so we want to tuck them in nice and close. Or maybe find your pelvic circles. Wherever you are, stay with your breath completely. We'll take 4 more breaths wherever you are. And then meeting back at hands and knees, keeping your block close by, and go ahead and move your blanket over. We're coming into goddess pose. So from hands and knees, you're just stepping the feet out to the side, sitting down. And if you feel like your heels just don't come down to your mat, go ahead and take a block and sit down, or even a couple of blankets if that's what you have at home, so that your heels can come all the way down and have more support here too. So coming into the breath here. And we're going to stay here for about the length of a contraction so you can practice noticing the sensations in your body and diving into what you're feeling. So using the breath to stay right here. And then always remembering that contractions are like waves in the ocean. They go up, but the good news is they always come down. So you're just practicing breathing to the top right now. And inhaling deep and letting that exhale go completely and coming back to your hands, pressing up to stand, and we're going to go ahead and come to the side or facing the side of your mat, coming into a wide straddle goddess pose, placing your hands on the inside of your thighs. And we're just alternating with the breath, stretching out the spine. What's nice about this is you can take it as deep as you like and really get into the lower back and the middle of your back here. So just use the breath. This is a great one to do if you're working still and your back is just talking to you all day long. Come into this pose maybe every hour. If you can just do a few breaths here, it'll really help. And then from here, after your left side, coming back to center, using your block, we're going to go ahead and press down with the left hand. You can take your feet as wide as you like, and then reaching up with the right. And then with your breath, we're coming down. So you're only releasing the block if this is just totally so easy right here that you don't need it. If you feel any tension at all, it's much more beneficial to use the block for support. And then your muscles can relax and open up here. And then after your left side, we're coming down and releasing your block if it's here. Hands are on the floor. You're coming to hands and knees, still facing the side, and grab your blanket, placing it under your knees. And we're coming into gate pose. So finding stability, the right foot steps out to the side. Then hands come up to your waist. And then the right hand will come down. Left hand will reach up and we'll take it over to the side here and breathe. So gate pose and goddess pose are great poses to lengthen and strengthen the muscles in the pelvic floor for labor and childbirth and pushing, or the pushing phase of labor. And also you can feel it in the inner thighs here as well. Let's come on down to center and then press out with the left side. So find stability. You always have plenty of time. And then come on up and reach down, and then right hand is up and over and breathe. And then coming back down to center. And then facing back towards the top of your mat and folding your blanket or even a pillow. And we're going to come all the way down into bridge pose. I'm just placing your blanket right at your sit bones. So when you first lie down, you have an opening in the spine here. And you can even use 2 blankets here, especially if you're a little bit taller. So in bridge pose, you're pressing into the heels, taking the hips up to the sky, and then come into the breath. So We have found that bridge pose will completely eliminate cramps in your calves or your feet, which sometimes we get more of those as our pregnancy progresses, especially in the middle of the night. So if you can either get right on the floor or even in your bed, press down into bridge and come on up, you'll find that it makes those cramps go away right away. So let's come on down here and actually remove your blanket, and we'll come into happy baby. So you can rock and roll here, just from left to right, giving yourself a little massage. And still breathing. And then we're going to go ahead and take our final stretches laying down. So coming onto your right side, just cradling your head in your right elbow. And starting with the left knee coming in, and maybe just circling the toes here, opening up a little bit in the ankle. And then you have a few different options. You can drop your left knee down, take your heel to your glute, if that feels good, or you can straighten the leg, grabbing your toe, or maybe it feels better to have your hand here behind your thigh. So play around and see what feels good, and go there. You have about 5 more breaths on this side. And then you can come back into happy baby just to rock over to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and turn and come over so I'm still facing you this way. And just cradling your head and your elbow again. And starting by taking the right knee in towards the ribs and just circle the toes and breathe. Remembering you can take that right knee down, you can straighten the leg. See how this side feels. It might feel really different than the other side, so move where it feels good. And you have about 4 or 5 breaths here. And then you're going to come on to your left or right side for your final Shavasana pose. You won't lay on your back because of the vena cava artery. We don't want to put too much pressure there and reduce oxygen to you or your baby. So you'll lay on your left or right side. And again, you can use your blankets like you did in the beginning of class between your knees or pillows between your ankles. And just come into the breath. And come back into maybe placing your hands on your baby. And soaking up the nurturing space here for just the two of you to breathe and feel together. And allowing your body to soak up the breath here and the energy of the poses. Remembering this is one of the most important poses you'll practice. as your body receives all of that good work. And then beginning to gently reawaken by moving your fingers, your toes softly, and then eventually taking your time, because you have plenty of time, eventually meeting in a seated position with your hands at heart center and your eyes shut down. So I intend for you to continue practicing your birth breathing in your everyday life, knowing that it will be there for you in pregnancy, in childbirth, and in mothering. Namaste.